Things are happening. Oh my gosh, I'm super excited. So I just want to go ahead and jump in front of the camera to go ahead and introduce you guys to the next author. She is hilarious. Her book is so much fun. I can't wait for you to meet her. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome to Let's Meet the Author. Stay with us. See you soon. Bye. All right, what else you guys need me to do? Okay.
Thank you for joining us on Let's Meet the Author, the online show that introduces self-published authors to the world. Let's join the conversation with our host Colleen and today's guest author.
Hello, welcome to another set of Let's Meet the Author show, hosted by me, Colleen Fillmore. This is a show where we get to dive into different authors' books and we get to answer all the why questions. Today, I have an author. She's not only a wife, she's a mother, she's an overcomer, she's an individual no different than you. She was determined to not stay bound. So let's meet the author of Picture Perfect, Miss Tangela Rivers. Hello, how are you today?
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming. From what I understand, this is your first interview ever.
Yes, it is.
And
Thank you for
on my
having
show?
me. Yes.
I'm excited. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm honored to meet you. I read your book and thank you so much for coming on the show. I have so many questions. We're going to have fun. We are definitely going to have fun.
Okay.
All right. So I read her book and the impact it had on me was on so many different levels. The book is completely transparent. I mean, she was completely transparent and I love that. She was not only honest, really honest, she was clear, she was raw, she was real. I loved it. And now also one thing that set her book apart, and this is again my opinion, is that the experiences that she went through, she was completely honest about, and she didn't use those as a crush or a crunch to go ahead and say, okay, well, this is the reason why my life is so sad. No, she learned from it, and she even admitted, we're gonna talk about that, she's like, I enjoyed it when I did it, but hey, I've learned from it and I grew up, and this is what made me the woman today. That's the impact your book had on me, so thank you.
Thank you.
Now, I have a why question. Why write your book? Like, why put all the details that you had in here?
Well, I wanted to utilize it as a tool for freedom.
Yes.
I needed to be free, and I know that there are so many others out that need to be free as well. And so I wanted to let them know that it's okay to deal with the different issues that you may have may have dealt with.
Exactly.
And so, just to put it out there to kind of normalize it for people, so that they'll know they're not the only ones who's gone through that.
I like it. And also, she had a little bit of comedy in her book. So, like, some of her titles was like, one of them was like, girl, bye. I love it because I was going, it made me laugh. And it made me relate. It really did. So even though I may not have experienced all the struggles you went through, I still was able to relate on some type of level, and it helped me. So I love this. So let's dive deep into this book called Picture Perfect by Tangela Rivers. So the first chapter is Winning from the Womb. From understanding, you were spoiled.
Just a little bit.
Just a little
Just
bit?
a little
You
bit.
sure? Just a little
Just a little bit.
I don't know, because you was your mama only child,
Yes.
and your daddy only girl. So I
Yes.
think, Tangela, you was a lot more spoiled.
Just a little bit. Promise, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. You went to a private Christian school.
Yes.
Then tell me about that. So tell me a little bit about that.
So that was not my first experience going to a private school. I did attend private school for my kindergarten, and I was the first queen.
Of course, I told you
Come
spoiled.
on. Listen. And so that was a great experience, just getting to know God on a level. I think it's so important that we introduce God to our children at a very young age. And so my mom made sure, my parents made sure to do that for me.
Awesome. And it worked out.
Yes,
it really worked out. And also in that same chapter, you suffered like a loss, and I call it a loss, like parents separating, and it had an impact on different levels. So let's talk about that.
Okay, so my parents separated when I was 9, and it was a struggle for me to get to a place of being alone without my father. And just having my mom around. It was abandonment. It opened the door for abandonment, for some rejection. What happened? Why did he leave? You know, and as parents, we don't want to include our children in those details. And so it was just we couldn't make it work. It's kind of, you know, the conversation. And so, but again, it left a sore spot for me. And it made it a little difficult, I think, for my relationships as I go further.
So it had some type of, that was one of the impacts that it had on you as a child. And then also in that first one, you mentioned the first signs of molestation by a neighbor or a neighbor, a family member. And so I read the book and I was shocked. But again, you're not the first one to go through it, and you won't be the last. And that's the sad truth. That is the sad truth, that you're not the first and you won't be the last. But one part you mentioned is like, hey, as it was going through, you're like, I enjoyed it. But why did I enjoy it? You know, and so that's another question. I'm like, okay, it made you question everything. And so the next chapter goes into Daddy, I Need You. And that's when we talk about, you said, well, I call it sex addiction, love blind with father of first 2 kids. So we're gonna go and talk about that soon, but stay with us. We're gonna take a short commercial break. Don't forget, we are here with Tangela Rivers, author of Picture Perfect. Stay tuned.
Tangela Rivers is a self-published author who has risen from the clutches of brokenness to the victory of the ultimate breakthrough. Read her story about victory and breakthrough.
Love you give to me, joy abundantly, peace inside of me. Thank you for blessing me.
Hi everyone, Richard C. Guest here with Up Radio, Undignified Praise. Connect with us at Up Radio. Why? Because at Up Radio, we play the best inspirational, contemporary, traditional, quartet, Stellar Award-winning gospel music on the planet. We touch hearts, regulate minds, and restore spirits through music. So whenever you need a musical boost 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you could find us at Up Radio. Now, here's what I need you to do. Download our app, Up Radio, and let's get connected.
Love you give to me, joy abundantly, peace inside of me.
Thank you for staying with us. We are here with Tangela Rivers, author of Picture Perfect. I'm Galene, the host of Let's Meet the Author Show. So right before we went on commercial break, we were talking about the chapter, Daddy, I Need You. So tell me a little bit about that, because you put a lot in there. We talked about sex addiction. You talked about how love was kind of blind, and then you had, especially with the father of your first 2 kids, the stigma attached to a title. We're going to talk about that. I love that part. Club hopping, and then unfortunately an abortion. The meds didn't work. So tell me about that.
So I think it's very important that we have our fathers in our lives. A lot of times, because things don't work out, men don't realize how much we need them. And so because there was a place, a void within me, I was seeking and searching for someone to fill that void. And so my children's father, my first my older children, their father, it was just more of a father figure. He spoiled me. Exactly, and it was almost of that where I was looking for my father to take care of me. This man did, and so it just left a place, though, the unhealed place, that allowed me to go and explore. For lack of better words, explore even more, because you're seeking and searching to fill that void.
And then the part I love that you wrote after each chapter, it was she would ask her readers a question, and then like a little study guide. I loved it, because this one was about titles, the stigma of titles, and her having a certain title, like a baby mama title, and what it can do to you. And then pretty much, and then she also put a prayer at the end of each one after you ask yourself these questions and like studying yourself, and a prayer to break that bond or to break that, and I love that part, especially about the stigma and letting different attachments go when it comes to titles. So, and this one else I got where it said, God will let you grow into something that in hopes you don't do it again. When the abortion, when you're like, why am I feeling all this pain? I should be sleeping, and the nurse held your hand. So why do you think that God allowed you to go through that?
To help other people understand that it's not something that you want to do. I did feel every part of the abortion, and it was I want to say odd, because the nurse says, why aren't you sleeping? I'm like, I don't know.
Because I usually I looked it up and I was like, no, these are usually supposed to knock you out. And
I was awake for everything. And so I made a vow I would never do that again, because it stuck with me. And so if I can help someone else understand that this is something that will stick with you for the rest of your life, then that was my goal.
You accomplished it.
Good.
You did.
Thank you.
Then the next chapter was Roundaway Girl. I love your titles. I just Roundaway Girl. And this one is when you mentioned, okay, you had a psychic as a spiritualist. So now you grew up in a Christian Christian home. You knew God. So like, why do you think or like, what led you? Maybe is it through all the trauma that let me turn to this psychic who happens to be my spiritualist in the book, not now, but why? Like, that's another why question. We're gonna answer a whole bunch of why questions, y'all. We will.
Fine. It was a familiar place. She spoke a language that I was used to. One of her things was, I am an ordained minister. Oh, she's a minister.
Right.
Absolutely.
I can relate.
I can relate. And so usually that's how spirits come in. They come in with something familiar. And so that's what opened. I was already open. Because I had never received deliverance or healing or anything from all of these years of trauma. So just looking for someone that could relate and help me heal. An ordained minister. A psychic.
Never would have picked you. And that's how you get sucked in, especially if you're already open and like being familiar. Okay, that makes sense. And then she admitted something in the book, y'all, in this chapter. I can go ahead and tell them.
You can tell them.
I can tell them. Well, it is in your book,
it's
though,
in
so
the
I guess
book.
I can
the whole
talk
world
about
it.
She got caught up with a dude. He was a nice dude. Kinda. He was a handsome dude, but he was a married dude. All right, so she got caught up with it. But hey, again, she's not the first, and she was not going to be the last. And that's why reading your book, you were completely transparent, you're completely honest, and I was, again, able to relate. And I'm pretty sure other young women will be able to relate.
Yes.
But why bring this part up in your book?
Again, I needed to heal. I needed to heal, and the sole purpose of the book was for healing. It's a tool that will be used not only for myself, but for each reader. Prayerfully, if they get the book for the right reason, then they will realize that it's to be completely transparent, to realize that there is healing and deliverance available to them. And I wanted to make sure that I was able to let them see that they can receive that.
If you continue reading the book, you guys, it gets even better, especially the blessings that at the end, towards the end, is awesome. Then the next title, this was the funniest title. I loved it. Girl, bye. I enjoyed that title. And then but it had a few points of sadness in there. Talked about your mom getting sick. And then that's when she first hint about lesbianism. So let's talk about that.
Okay. Right now.
Yeah, just a little bit, just a little bit. Don't talk too much about it because I want them to buy the book and I want them to read your book.
Right.
So just a little bit.
Okay. So again, because that was a place that had not been healed, there was lust running rampantly inside of me, and so when we don't recognize those things that are within us from trauma, from the molestation, from childhood, it still left a place for me to be vulnerable. And so it was my husband. I was married. Can I say that?
Yeah,
I'm just going to say, okay.
Go ahead.
I was married. I was married and my husband did nothing wrong. But when your spirit is not right, it will make you do things that you probably wouldn't normally do if you were in a healed place.
You're right.
And so the lust that was just roaming, it made it so easy.
Yeah.
You know, and it was a friend. It was a good friend, and so
it was a familiar friend.
it was a familiar again. It opens that door.
It does.
Yeah,
it really does. And that's why when you read her book, it opens up your eyes. Again, like you mentioned, a good part. If you read it for the right reasons,
absolutely.
All right,
yes.
It will be entertaining, but it's also very educational, and I hope you do read it. Please stay tuned with us. We're going to take another commercial break. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, it's your girl Tiffany here, your favorite social media specialist. I just wanted to go ahead and tune in with you guys very quick because I don't ever want you to miss out. Go ahead and make sure that you like our Facebook page, Eagle-Eye Video Maker. Stay tuned for notifications for great updates and also our lives. Make sure that you go ahead and push that like button.
Here it is, the sordid lives of Jesus' ancestors. Every family has skeletons in their closet. Jesus' family does too. These are compelling and insightful stories of strong, determined, and unlikely women chosen by God to be in the bloodline of Jesus. A novel by Alice Newsome. Get your copy today at alicenewsome.com.
Thank you for staying with us. All right, we have Miss Tangela Rivers. All right, so in your next chapter, Eclipse, so your father passed away, but the good news, y'all, she met her boo, she met her life mate,
Yes.
she met her husband. All right, so I was like, oh, this is so exciting. She met him because when you read through the book, you went through a lot.
Right.
Like she literally went through a lot, but she met her husband. All right, so let's talk about that. So you met him and things are going great, but you're still struggling, and that's what you admitted in the book. So let's talk about that a little bit.
So I met my husband.
Your husband.
Amazing.
Yes.
Amazing man.
Yes.
And I was still struggling. I had not fully committed my life to God. I was still being human.
Yeah.
I was still being out there,
Yeah.
for lack of better words. I'm gonna say out there, and I really didn't understand what it meant to be married.
Yeah.
I just knew I wanted it.
Yeah.
You know, we grow up especially girls.
Right.
We grow up with the fairy tale,
Right.
and I found the fairy
The
tale.
prince.
Yeah.
Ever happily ever after. Yes.
I found the fairy tale.
Yep.
And so we got married really quickly. It happened quickly.
Yeah.
But it was an amazing, amazing experience.
I bet in the book you describe him like, oh, Baker. Oh, I loved it.
I'm trying not to give away too much.
It was and one thing that you mentioned is that when you read a fairy tale, it's like, oh, you know, he rescued me, and then we live happily ever after. But in real life, you said, no, marriage is hard work. Like
Yes.
marriage is hard work, and it requires sacrifices on both sides. And you were honest and raw when you mentioned that in the book. So I love it. And then you were like, you still struggle about being suicidal even after 2 years and missing your parents, but again, God is God and God is awesome. So
Right.
I love it. We're going to take a short break. We're going to come to one of my favorite parts in the show where you get to hear the author read a certain part in her book. That's right, on Let's Meet the Author Show is a segment called Author's Pick. Stay with us.
It's now time for Author's Pick.
I'll be reading tonight from chapter 6, After the Pain Comes More Pain, page 58 to 59. So what happens next? It's all God. We have a collaborative story to tell, but we will let God place that together when and if He sees fit. I wanted to speak on what it took for me to get from there to here. A lot has transpired in the years since 2012 when I fully committed myself to the Lord. But let's back up right before me committing. Disclaimer, I truly wanted to omit this part of my story, but then my story would be incomplete. If we're coming clean and unveiling everything so the enemy has no more holes on my life, then we're doing just that. Not only was I embarrassed, but ashamed that my selfish motives almost cost me my marriage. Let's journey back a bit. As stated before, I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior in elementary school. However, as I got older, I realized there were some things I wanted to do that I could not do as a person who had surrendered their life to Jesus and given Him lordship. Full authority over what I did, didn't do, say, or didn't say. Though I wasn't heavy in the church or familiar with the jargon, I knew certain things were obsolete. So I didn't fully surrender my life to God. How could I, knowing I would be out of order? When I finally realized it was time to settle down and get for real with Jesus, mind, body, and soul, that's when I surrendered to Jesus. I stopped everything that I knew was wrong and what I thought was holding me back. Our marriage was tested more than we ever would have thought. We went through the financial issues, the silent treatments, and we even went through where we probably were both ready to walk away. We weren't, however, prepared for what was coming next. See, we all have an idea of marriage and what it looks like, yet we do not truly have an understanding of what all it entails, especially when there are no role models as to what a healthy marriage looks like. Who taught us to fight healthy? If you remember, my parents weren't even married, and they definitely didn't fight healthy. Who teaches us to sit down and budget with each other? We are usually from two separate upbringings, so our views on many different areas are just that, different. We have to come to a conclusion of what it looks like in our family. Not what tradition says it should look like, but what works for us. Who teaches us that there are many different ways to look at it, and what works for your house may not work for mine, but then again, it just might.
Hi everyone, Michael Newsom here with Eagle-Eye Video Maker. And I've got some great news for you, but first I want to ask you a question. Have you ever wanted to have your own show? Your very own show? Well, Eagle-Eye Video Maker is making that possible for you. Whether it's a cooking show or an interview type show or spoken word show, it is your platform. You're the artist. Eagle-Eye Video Maker is making possible our studio so that you can come in, we will record your show in 1080p high definition, and our staff will do all of the production work, handle all of the lighting, handle all of the audio and the sound, just to make your show number one.
Thank you for staying with us. I hope you enjoyed that, because I know I did. So I have another why question for Miss Tangela. Why pick that part to read? Why pick that part to read from your book?
I picked that part because I believe that people definitely need to know that marriage is work. And we typically want to have a marriage like someone else's marriage.
Yeah.
And when it doesn't work that way, we want to leave.
Yeah.
And that's not what we should be doing.
Right.
You know, every marriage is going to be different. You have to figure out what works for you and what works for your household. We're bringing two people together that are coming from two different areas, two different families, and were
Two different
raised
upbringings.
exactly
Yeah.
differently. And so we have to learn how to merge those two together.
Right.
And so I just wanted to let people know, because as the book states, pictured perfect.
Yes.
I made it look good.
You did.
I made the marriage look good, you know,
Yeah.
but there was so much work, and there's still work that we're doing now.
Yeah.
So,
But I mean, again, you guys got to read the book. You got to. It's awesome, because at the end, you guys got closer. Your kids got closer. The marriage got better. But the best part is that both of your relationship, individually and together, got better with God.
absolutely.
And it made a huge impact. A
Absolutely, yes.
huge impact. So let's talk
Yes.
about that part.
Restoration.
Yes,
Restoration is the most beautiful thing.
it is.
It's the most beautiful thing, especially when you get restored back to the Lord.
Yes.
That was the kicker for me. I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
this is a beautiful place.
It
And
is.
so when we become one with the Lord, then we can become one with our spouses, with our families, with our
Yes.
children,
I agree.
and we're able to love them from a pure place,
Yes.
because God is love and He's giving us that pure love.
I agree, because after that, everything just fell into place. It was already there, but it just got better.
Absolutely.
Got better.
Yes.
I
Yes.
love it. I love it.
Yes.
Man, you guys have got to get your own copy. I hope you enjoyed the show today. I have my own copy, and it's autographed because I'm special. So I want you to tell everybody, where can they get their own copy of your book called Picture Perfect?
Sure, you can connect with me personally on tmriverscribe at gmail.com and place your order. I'm also on Amazon as well as lulu.com.
There you go. Well, I have one more thing before I let you off the show. Just one more thing.
Okay.
Give my authors, well, my future authors, right? Give all my readers, give them a quote that when they hear this quote, they'll always think of you. So go ahead and hit them with it.
Okay, I'm going to read it from the back of the book.
Yes.
Because I think this was so important, and everything in this book was God breathed into me. It says, when we don't realize who we are and what areas have been shattered, broken, abused, and misused, we miss the opportunity to obtain proper healing, to allow for our brokenness to work for our good. It's time to be free. It's time to acknowledge the scars and the wounds, and not only acknowledge, but confront those things that have kept us in a place of bondage. It's time to be free.
You heard it from her. It is time to be free. Thank you again so much for staying with us. Thank you for coming on the show. All right, again, this is Galene, me, your host with Let's Meet the Author. Thank you, Ms. Tangela.
Thank you
so
for
much for
having
coming to the
me.
show. I really, really appreciate it. I can't wait for you to write part 2.
Yes.
And when you do, you're coming back on the show, right?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
I'll be here.
Thank
you so much.
And don't forget, everyone else, books are like hidden doors, each having their own and different adventure. So pick up your own book and start your own journey. I can't wait to see you. Bye.
Bye.